Good evening. Hello, my name is Viren Chatlani and I am currently an Awesome P student. This is my ID. My A number is 00345-182. Tonight I'm going to talk about a topic based on knowledge. Usually knowledge is used and expressed by people as something that people understand, know, and that makes them smarter. It increases their ability to understand things and to act upon things. I want to try to give you what my real opinion on knowledge and convince you that sometimes learning a lot can lead you to ignorance. Henry Miller once said, "In expanding the field of knowledge, we but increase the horizon of ignorance." Knowledge is not based on only knowing more, but being aware of more. I have been studying for years, and my knowledge may have increased in some of the fields, although throughout time I have lost most of what I've learned. The more you know, the more you realize, the more you are aware of that you really don't know anything, that there's so much out there that what you know is a bare minimum. I will explain why knowledge is misinterpreted and what real knowledge can do to one. Let me start explaining what knowledge is. Knowledge is understood as a broad term, but as it increases, the horizon of the known knowledge must increase too. So the more you start to learn, the more you start to realize that you don't really know anything. It's like a huge metaphor. Basic knowledge can be compared as a bubble. So let's use a comparison. Say knowledge is a bubble. As knowledge increases, the bubble's frontier also increases. And what can be found outside the bubble increases even more. And this can be compared to a student's knowledge. As one attends school, he or she increases his or her knowledge. They test truths, they learn about scientific theories, and this can be compared to what's inside the bubble, the knowledge one learns. As a student achieves a certain degree of awareness in a topic, the information may have been learned, and it can be more technical. As you learn something and you go on to increase your knowledge on that subject, you want it to be more technical. The term knowledge and discoveries are very similar to each other, and as one increases, the other one also increases. Now that you have some understanding on what knowledge is, I am going to talk about how human activities are related to all of this. The more we know, the more we feel we don't know. This meaning, the more we know, the more we are aware of what's outside and of how little we know. Throughout history, there are many things that we learn that change throughout times. The awareness of an increase in new theories allows one to know little information he attains. In expanding the field of knowledge, we but increase the awareness of one's knowing. Some fields that you can study are something like history, as its foundations are based on subjective reasoning and can change when new manuscripts are found or when new evidence is found. Also, there are different sciences in which this can occur. In recent discoveries and studies in physics, we have learned that the atom is now no longer the smallest unit of matter. Now something has appeared that's called a tachyon. So throughout years, 20, 50, 100 years, we've believed some theory that recently has been discovered to be wrong. So what does that teach us? That teaches us that we really don't know anything, that knowledge is very subjective. And that's what I want to transmit to you, to my audience. I want you to understand what knowledge really is. Knowledge is just something that you increase, but as you increase that, you also increase your amount of awareness to everything. The less you know, the more ignorant you are in a way, but also the less you know outside the bubble. And as I was saying, the tachyon is now considered to be the smallest unit of matter. Many encyclopedias state this now, but this is not very well known and has to still be spread out. So many people will learn that this is the smallest unit of matter. Some people might learn that the atom is the smallest unit of matter. And all of this information is in many websites. A scientist called Ernest Rutherford found this out. And sites like about.com also cite this. But I've already stated my main thoughts about this. I just want to remind all of you that knowledge is misinterpreted and should be completely understood in order to talk about it and in order to analyze it. Knowledge is a delicate theory, a delicate thing that you cannot just consider, talk about, and then change your mind about it. It's something that you have to keep the same. It's a subjective thought, but each person has to have their own subjective thought. In order to live a life in which you want to be satisfied, you must live in an ignorant manner. Well, that's my opinion at least. We must close ourselves in a sense to many of the questions which surround us and only answer those that are needed for our survival. To live in this world, there are few things we have questioned, and it will finally, all these things that we question will finally be answered, may it be now or in the future. Knowledge is an institution based on ignorance. The more you close yourself, the more you think you know. And as you expand your mind, you finally belong to a world in which your ideas are insignificant. What I'm trying to teach all of you here is that if you don't learn, you won't know as much, but you will also not be aware of how much there is outside. So mentally, you will believe you know more, but you actually won't. And this will keep one happy. This will keep one believing that he or she knows enough. And that in a way is very good, as you don't believe yourself to be at the top of the world. And I hope all of you learners have learned something. I hope all of you have understood something I've said. It may be a complicated thing to understand, but it's a huge metaphor. And I hope all of you really understand, and I hope that some of you might have also been convinced of what I said about knowledge. And I would like to thank all of you for being here, and good night.